This Big Ten on CBS postgame report is presented by Belfour Property Restoration. Kenyon Sadiq between two defenders, and Oregon goes on to win this one 42-27. 6 targets, 6 catches, 72 yards, 2 scores for Sadiq, who is now a projected first-round pick in the upcoming NFL draft. And it is all Oregon in the end here, 42-27. Back here with Cardale Jones and Richard Johnson. And Cardale, look, we saw this game coming in, 2 of the best offenses in the country, and you said Dante Moore, and you saw the passing game and the running game just able to take control.
That's the biggest thing when you talk about a top matchup. Last time we saw this Oregon team at home versus another quality opponent was Indiana, and this team looked completely different. In fact, only scoring 1 offensive touchdowns. Today was a completely different story, guys. That's championship football, getting it done on all aspects of the side of the ball. Completely dominated USC up front on both sides of the ball, rushing for close to 200 yards on offense and holding USC to less than 50 yards rushing. This is championship football. This is the type of performance I was expecting to see from the Oregon Ducks.
Oregon improves to 10-1, 3 ranked wins. They finish the regular season at Washington next week. And man, what a victory this was at Autzen Stadium in Eugene on Senior Day. We even saw their senior linebacker, Bryce Betcher, score a touchdown. Just an absolute clinic from the Oregon Ducks. All right, back out to Eugene. Welcoming Gary Danielson, who helped call this game on CBS. Gary, what you saw from Oregon, a little bit different than when you saw them against Indiana. What have you seen in terms of their development as this offense continues to progress?
Right. So when we talked to Dan Lanning about that game, because we've seen him on the road, we saw him win some other games, but that Indiana game hurt them. That hurt them bad, their pride. They had just come off that Penn State win. They were very proud of it. They almost were feeling too good about themselves. That day, that offense didn't produce. It looked like Indiana was the more physical team, and since that game, I think Dan Lanning's been waiting for a game like this to show his team what they need to do if they expect to be successful in the playoffs. And they're going to be a dangerous team if they get healthy. They got a lot of weapons and a quarterback that could deliver the ball to anybody. They're the real deal. You see the difference between them and where USC is right now. They do not have that offensive defensive line to the level that Oregon does.
Yeah, the depth they have is the depth that you see at Ohio State. National championship level teams, and Oregon certainly has the pedigree, the championship drives that they put together. Kenyon Sadiq, for me, really stands out. Here's a young man who's now a projected first-round pick, 6 targets, 6 catches, makes catches that you see on Sundays, Gary.
Yeah, I think any professional team, and I can tell you as a quarterback how valuable a tight end is to throw the ball like that. In Cleveland, I had Ozzie Newsome, Bernie Kosar, and I did. Those are the type of plays that an athletic tight end can make, okay? So when you got a guy like that, the NFL teams will be just salivated for a Kenyon Sadiq. He was nicked. He did not practice at all Indiana week. He did not have a very good game. You can see the difference of what Oregon is with a healthy Kenyon Sadiq.
Dan Lanning now 8-2 at home against ranked teams. And look, they are quacking there in Eugene. Our Gary Danielson with us here on CBS Sports HQ. Gary, appreciate the time as always here with us on CBS Sports HQ.
All right, thanks, guys.
A big win for Oregon at home as you take a look at their resume. And now their CFP chances reaching 91.4%. They're a 1-loss team. They can afford a loss to Washington next week and still make the playoff. But you know they are going out to Washington to get a win against their rival in Seattle. And look, Oregon has a chance here to creep up a couple of spots in the college football playoff rankings. They take care of business in a big, big win on this day against USC. Back here on CBS Sports HQ, this Big Ten on CBS postgame report is presented by Belfour Property Restoration. Kenyon Sadiq had himself a day. Couple of touchdown catches. He was targeted 6 times. He made all 6 catches, 72 yards, even hurdled a guy. And Oregon hurdles USC 42-27 to get to 9-1 on the season. Richard, your initial takeaways from this win for the Oregon Ducks?
I thought it was a great effort from Oregon because of what they didn't have. No Gary Bryant in this game, no DeCorian Moore in this game. Kenyon Sadiq, their other best pass catcher, had to step up. And he did. He was tremendous in this game. Look, we've talked a lot about Oregon's schedule and their resume and how, we think they're a good team, but the resume's been a little lacking. But again, they come out in this game and they put a dominant performance on the field. It was an impressive performance against Iowa to get in and out of that game in the sloppy weather a couple weeks ago. And it's great to dominate a USC team that had been really resurgent. And you consider the offensive line injuries that they sustained in this game to Isaiah World and Harkey, and you really think this is another impressive win for Oregon where people were kind of starting to doubt, and they come in and they leave no doubt on the field.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I just want to echo what Gary said. And as he wrapped up in that crew out there in Eugene with CBS Game of the Week, you look at the way that Indiana went into that stadium and dominated Oregon, and really from the front seven. That's the way Oregon did what they just did to USC. Completely dominated those guys, controlled the line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball, holding USC to one of their worst rushing performance of all season. And then the thing about this, once you play into Oregon's hands, especially on the deep side of the ball, of being one-dimensional, and you want to drop back and throw the ball 45, 50 times a game, you're just setting yourself up for a recipe for disaster. Oregon have multiple guys on that front seven with 5+ sacks on the season, and then we're not going to talk about the back end of all the tip balls and overthrows and interception they cause. When you're one-dimensional, it's going to be hard to beat a team, especially on the road.
I want to take you back to when the game is tied at 14. Oregon punts, and this game flips on its head because this was a critical point in the game, and you can argue that it was a turning point in the game, and I know that it got close even a little bit later, but what happens is Malik Benson returns it 85 yards on the punt return to make it 21-14. Jaden Mayavi throws an interception. It's picked off by Ife Obadego. Then Oregon takes over, missed field goal. That drive had a bunch of penalties for Oregon, undisciplined, but a penalty on USC for jumping over the line, and it keeps the drive alive. And then we see the senior linebacker, Bryce Betcher, score a touchdown on senior day. That right there, to me, was a changing of the game. What happened right there to go up 28-14 was huge for the Ducks.
Yeah, and I think that was play of the game. When you look at a guy like Bryce, he is what I call a program guy, a guy that's from Eugene, started his career as a walk-on, spent all 4 years at Oregon in this new era of transfer portal and NIL. He's became a very productive player where he would have probably been a pretty hot name in the transfer portal. He wasn't highly recruited. Like I said, he started his career as a walk-on, and for him to score a touchdown in front of his family, senior night, and we're not talking about no mop-up duty, garbage time. This is still, a one-possession game, and they put the ball into a linebacker's hands, and he gets over the goal line. That type of energy, that type of momentum, that type of vibe, it just lights up your sideline, and Oregon never looked back after that moment.
And that's rewarding your homegrown players too, right? That's such a big team kind of culture moment, I think, for Oregon to show, like, hey, if you stick around, you pay your dues to this program, homegrown talent will put you in cool positions to do special things on senior day. It was really impressive.
Yeah, more on him in a moment. And you saw Dante Moore really able to make great throws to Kenyon Sadiq in this game. The one between two defenders. And Cardale, we've seen that time and time again. Take you back to that Iowa game. He throws a ball. I've been saying it's like he threw it into a keyhole, right, to Malik Benson. And like my thing with this guy is he just throws absolute darts at his receivers and gives them an opportunity to get the football.
Yeah, you look at the way that Dante Moore played today, and really over his time here at Oregon, and he has been giving guys a chance to giving guys a chance to make plays on the ball. But a quarterback's best friend in a pass game is the run game. You look at Noah Whittington, over 100 yards once again. When I can lean on my running game, it takes the pressure off of me to make everything perfect. And you look on the other side of the ball, Jaden Mayaba, over 300 passing yards, 2 interceptions, couldn't get the run game going. So it's easy for that defense to pin their ears back and just play zone defense because they know the run game wasn't a threat. That's not like that with this Oregon team. And when they were like that versus Indiana, I'm going to keep working back to that game because that's the only game we saw this year where Oregon didn't look Oregon-ish. This team is dynamic and they have so many playmakers. How deep they had to go into the roster with all the injuries. This is going to be a scary team when they get healthy at the right time.
Jeremiah McClellan, also wide receiver. They had to go deep on the depth chart. They give him an opportunity in this game. He had that long catch for 23 yards in the first half where you say, okay, you're getting contributions from other players on this roster. That's your depth shining through. That will only benefit you in December when you get into the dance for Oregon, especially when you do get healthy, like you just said.
Yeah, and this wasn't a game. This is a playoff game. This is a playoff winner game for USC. This is the second one in the week, second one back-to-back weeks of kind of a playoff type of environment. This wasn't some mop-up duty type of game that we've seen in the SEC, not playing non-conference games where they're playing Charlotte in this week right here. This was a huge game. This is a top 20 matchup where you saw guys we didn't call on all year come in and make plays at the biggest moments.
Well, Mekhi Lemon had a massive game for USC. He had a couple of touchdown catches and a touchdown pass. Yeah. And look, this team is talented, but this was a playoff eliminator, and now they are going to be out of the college football playoff. And now USC's 0-5 against top 10 teams under Lincoln Riley, while Oregon is 8-2 at home against ranked teams under Dan Lanning. And that one loss this year was to Indiana. And look, Richard, when you look at Oregon, from what you've seen from that loss against the Hoosiers, has your opinion changed or stayed the same about what the Ducks can accomplish this season?
All their goals are still in front of them as far as getting into the college football playoff. The Big Ten championship game, obviously they're going to need a ton of help to get into that game, but college football playoff goals are still ahead of them. I thought the world of this Oregon team coming into the season, but yeah, you fall and you stub your toe against that Indiana team. You get out physical, you get pushed around in that game. Did not look like they had their best stuff. How do you rebound from a loss like that? And what they've done since has been consistent. So is Oregon peaking right now? When it really matters in November, I think we'll see here when they get into college football playoff, provided they take care of business against Washington next week.
Yeah, you know what? And this reminds me of the situation Ohio State found themselves in last year, dropping a game early, ironically, to the Ducks, and then running off a stretch and not making it to the college football playoffs, but having a path to the national championship game that was very favorable, hosting a home game at the Shoe at night versus a great Tennessee team, and then going to a neutral site and playing Oregon, and then the college football playoff run, ultimately capturing the national championship game. Oregon is in that exact same position. Who wants to play Oregon? Let's be honest. Who wants to play Oregon at home at night in a playoff environment when they're going to have almost 2 weeks off to get guys back and healthy and hitting on full cylinders? They are in perfect position. At this day and age of college football, the conference championship games isn't as important to make it to the college football playoffs. They're almost in a better position than Ohio State, than Indiana, versus having that potential week off for the Big Ten championship game.
Yeah, you're right. You do not want to go and play Oregon in their stadium unless you're Indiana, because they were able to go in there and go and get a win. But Dan Lanning is 25-2 at home as Oregon head coach. Quack, quack. All right, time now for the Big Ten on CBS Player of the Game, presented by Belfour Property Restoration. A lot of players from this game that really stood out. Cardale, who was the one for you that was your outstanding player?
You know what? Biasly, I got to go with Dante Moore because the last time we've seen Dante Moore play against a high-quality opponent that they can get points just as fast as Oregon does, it was Indiana. He wasn't the same. They wasn't able to get things going on the offensive side of the ball at all. In fact, only one offensive touchdown that whole game. And then you look what they did on the road versus Iowa. Tough environment, but we wasn't going to see a lot of plays in the passing game because it was a nasty type of weather type of game. At home versus another top talent, Jada Mayavinis, USC offense, he outperformed these guys. These are the type of performance that he's going to have to lead this offense as they get ready for the college football playoffs.
My player of the game has to be Kenyon Sadiq. Stepped up in a huge way when Oregon needed its pass catchers to step up because of all the injuries. The guy is an absolute freak show as an athletic talent. I mean, chiseled out of granite, a guy who has wide receiver skills in a tight end body, can block a little bit too now, by the way. We did see that today, not just a receiving threat, but Sadiq was incredible for them in this game. 2 touchdowns, including the great seam ball that he caught there in the second half to really help Oregon to power them on to the victory here. Kenyon Sadiq, my player of the game.
Oregon with 4 straight seasons with 10 wins for the first time since they had 7 straight such seasons from 2008 to 2014, in prime position now to finish the year at 11-1 as you take a look at their schedule and their record. Next week on the road at Washington, make the short trip up to Seattle and take care of business, and then you're looking at 11-1. Maybe somebody stumbles in front of you, and then you're talking about being 5th in the CFP rankings. We'll wait to see on that. But Oregon taking care of business, eliminating USC from the college football playoff with a 42-27 victory.